Shlomo Melech appoints 12 Nitzivim or officials to be in charge of the tax that each region is required to send. The fact that there are 12 would seem to lead us to the idea that each Shevet had one. The problem is, only some of the areas are split up by Shevet specifically, and others based on the regions and perhaps what they have to offer. Meaning, the division is into 12 not in order to keep things fair, but to keep things efficient, with each Shevet responsible to provide the needs of the government for 1 month of the year. In order to maintain control over such a vast kingdom and reach the level of power that Shlomo strove for, he made use of a huge military, including many horses and chariots. Some say this goes against the laws pertaining to Jewish kings. Others say that while it may have deteriorated into such a situation, it wasn't necessarily an issue to begin with, as it wasn't for his own honor, but for maintaining control. Either way, this means that he needed an incredible supply of food for the troops and feed for the animals. Shlomo was the wisest of all men, created a brilliant system to maintain a steady food supply year-round for his government. I'm not Shlomo. I spent a considerable amount of time trying to decipher it all, but I will need a lot more research to really get a greater grasp of how it all works in detail. That being said, I can share some potential insights that may help us on our path. Firstly, there are different climates around Israel, different soils and altitudes. Each region provides resources and opportunities that others don't. Again, this brings us back to our study of Sefer Yoshua, where we went into how each Shevet was given a nachalah that was fit for them. Shlomo Melech, however, didn't split everything up only by nachalah, because some nachalot may have a couple of different things to offer, and they may not be of the same value, or they may not be needed at the same time of the year. So, for example, Dor gets its own region because of its port, which is both very valuable and can sustain a month own, both income-wise, and it's an excellent source of produce from other areas around the Mediterranean basin during months with less natural local produce. The regions around the country producing grains and fruit for that matter vary somewhat based on their location. The coastal plains and low hills will be ready a bit earlier in the spring, followed by the northern valleys, and shortly after those, filling in areas in the mountains. Keep in mind, however, the fact that the grains are harvested in the spring does not mean that that's necessarily the time for taxing them. It'll take time until the beginning of the autumn for the final grains to be properly stored. It would seem that it may be somewhere in between, and the collection was staggered based on when it's ready in each region. Even some areas we would call desert, as it's not fit for growing wheat, can still be quite important for growing barley and oats for the horses. We have a similar phenomenon by fruit, which are generally ready first in the lowest regions in Israel, like the Dead Sea area, and only then gradually ripen in other areas around Israel. The last of them generally in the highest areas around Israel, in the Upper Galil, for instance, where among other things we have an abundance of olives, as we've already discussed. Besides this, we have waterfowl available certain times of the year, and based on the menu in the next parak, we see that there are various different types of meat available as well, coming from animals either raised or trapped in different areas around the land on both sides of the Yarden, of course. So you have deserts for the sheep and goat, and you have the Bashan area for fattened cows, and so on. By making use of the various types of resources and staggering the agriculture, Shlomo was able to maximize the available assets and bring about a norm like that described in the Torah. "V'yasig lechem da'ishet batzir, u'batzir yasig et zara, v'achadtem lachmechem lastova, v'yeshavtem levetach ba'artechem." And so we find that everyone really was prospering in this time. But an interesting question arises regarding Shevet Yehuda. They don't seem to be mentioned among the 12 areas to be taxed. Did Shlomo provide them with an exemption because it's his Shevet? There are those who suggest that, and it could be that it did in the end develop into such a situation. There may, however, be another way of understanding how the system was meant to work regarding Yehuda to begin with. In Pasuk Yud it says that there was another official over the whole land, and then Pasuk Chav immediately continues with Yehuda and Yisrael living well, etc. As we've noted, Nachalat Yehuda is the Nachalat Milcha and leadership. As such, it contains all the different types of topography and climates that we find around Eretz Yisrael. In the times of Shlomo, at some point, there was even a port down by Etzion Gava or Eilat. Maybe that was under Yehuda's control as well. As such, with Yehuda as a microcosm of the entire land, perhaps they were responsible to help fill in each month as needed, wherever there was something lacking. Either way, however, there do seem to be some hints that people felt that there may have been some nepotism as well, and while it was accepted mostly in silence during Shlomo's reign, It hasn't been ignored entirely, and it'll resurface as soon as the situation allows for it. Shlomo's goal was to sanctify the name of Hashem. And when everyone works towards that goal, each in their own way, each contributing from their unique blessings that Hashem has given them, then we all succeed spiritually and economically as well. That's the goal. Hashem gave each of us something unique to contribute. We have to recognize it in ourselves and live it to the maximum, and recognize and appreciate it in everyone around us. That's when the light of Torah truly shines at its strongest and brightest, and the brachot of the Torah flow through the land, through each of us.